The misconception: you make sense of life through rational contemplation. The truth: you make sense of life through narrative. At the Ypsilanti State Hospital in Ypsilanti, Michigan, right around the time the hula hoop was invented, 3 men began a conversation that would drag each into the depths of madness. Real madness, the kind that earns prescriptions. This trialogue lasted 2 years, and at times it soared, with each man literally singing in harmony with the others. At other times it languished, descending into physical violence. Still, each morning the men met, and each tried at length to get the other 2 to see things his way. Clyde Benson, Joseph Castle, and Leon Gabor had lived very different lives leading up to their meeting. Benson was a widowed and remarried heavy-drinking farmer in his 70s. Castle was a clerk in his 50s with a desire to be a writer, yet was too hobbled and passive, haunted by a terrible childhood, to realize his dream. Gabor was a man nearing 40, wandering from job to job after being transformed by the war. What tied them together was the conviction that they were the living reincarnation of the Messiah. That is to say, each man thought he was Jesus Christ. The psychologist Milton Rocaik brought the 3 institutionalized men together in a psychiatric ward where he could observe them. In his book, The 3 Christs of Ypsilanti, Rocaik writes that he had the men assigned adjacent beds, had them eat together, and gave them jobs in which they interacted regularly. In addition, he had them meet daily in a visitation room with a wooden table at its center, across from windows that allowed in light from the world of the sane. Making them constant companions, Rocaik thought, might cause their delusions to cancel one another out. In his opinion, it was a rare and thrilling opportunity to have 3 individuals claiming the same identity, and not just any identity, but one that didn't allow for any wiggle room. The Bible said there was one Son of God, and now 3 people who asserted that status as their own sat at the same table with science looking on. Surely, Rocaik believed, something would be revealed about the nature of delusion, belief, and the self. Indeed, something was. When first asked to introduce themselves, Castle didn't disappoint. He said, "My name is Joseph Castle," and when asked if he had anything else to add, he said, "Yes, I'm God." Benson was a bit more ambiguous, saying that he had made God 5 and Jesus 6. Gabor followed, saying his birth certificate stated he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Soon after, an argument began, with each man revealing how insulted he was by the other's claims. Through the lens of hindsight, it seems not only unethical, but also cruel to toss mentally unstable people in a room just to see what happens. But Rocaik was seeking a cure. He wanted the men to awaken to the epiphany of their true identities, because, as he wrote, it seems a terrible thing for a person not to know who he really is. After that first meeting, Rocaik was crestfallen. As he put it, the confrontation was less stormy than I had expected. When their meeting adjourned, the 3 men just sort of walked away feeling confident in their own views of reality. Rocaik wrote, "Perhaps they did not fully grasp the extraordinary nature of this confrontation, at least not in the way we did." As the men met again and again, their individual delusions unfurled, showing their complex and Byzantine structures. Each man's explanation of how it came to be that Jesus Christ was trapped in a psychiatric ward in Michigan manifested as a unique maze of stories and logic that would make sense internally for a moment, only to collapse as Rocaik prodded. As the constructs fell apart, the men swiftly rebuilt them, and the conversations took on the appearance of people exchanging lines from different plays. Still, each man often remembered the intricate details of the other 2 men's explanations and picked them apart, as if he were a political candidate debating the finer points of an opponent's tax plan. Rocaik wrote that he would attempt in each session to bring the conversation back to the impossibility of 3 Christs, and asked the men to address the problem. When forced to explain, they didn't come to a sudden realization that they were being delusional. They didn't reel in awe after being struck by the insight that their identities were showing cracks.